Right then, let's set the stage. Let's talk about the Middle East, a region rarely calm and never predictable. For decades, it's been a chessboard of shifting alliances, simmering rivalries, and sudden, dramatic turns. Every day brings new uncertainty, and every night a sense that something big could happen at any moment. Early this morning, June 13, 2025, Israel launched Operation Rising Lion, a massive, coordinated aerial assault on Iran. The world awoke to the roar of jet engines and the shock of a new reality. Over 200 Israeli fighter jets struck targets across multiple provinces, including Tehran and key nuclear sites like Natanz and Isfahan. The operation was meticulously planned, but its scale was staggering. Waves of aircraft, precision-guided munitions, and a clear intent to cripple Iran's nuclear infrastructure. This was no surgical strike. It was a bold, risky, and messy escalation in the Israel-Iran conflict. The skies lit up with anti-aircraft fire, and the ground shook with the force of explosions. Civilians and soldiers alike were caught off guard, as chaos erupted in the heart of Iran. The world is now scrambling for information, as the shockwaves ripple through diplomatic circles. Newsrooms buzz with speculation, and world leaders are locked in urgent discussions, trying to make sense of what comes next, and how to prevent a wider war. For Iranians in cities like Tehran and Tabriz, the night was filled with explosions and failed attempts to intercept the onslaught. Sirens wailed, families huddled in fear, and the sky was streaked with the trails of missiles and anti-aircraft fire. The sense of vulnerability was overwhelming. Israel's message was clear: nowhere is safe. The attack was not just a military operation but a psychological blow, meant to send a warning to Iran and the world. Israel will act decisively and without warning when it feels threatened. The lion has roared, and the world is holding its breath. As dawn breaks, everyone is left wondering, what will happen next, and how far will this conflict go? So what exactly was Israel aiming for in this meticulously planned operation? The answer goes far beyond a simple show of force or a warning shot. Israel's true objective was to strike at the very heart of Iran's nuclear and military backbone, targeting the core infrastructure that powers its most sensitive programs. The Natanz, Isfahan, and Kandab nuclear sites, critical hubs for uranium enrichment and research, were hit hard, with the intention of crippling Iran's nuclear ambitions and halting progress for years to come. But the strikes didn't stop there. Missile bases, launch pads, and air defense systems were also targeted, aiming to severely weaken Iran's ability to retaliate or defend itself in the future. In a bold and controversial move, the operation extended to the homes of top commanders and nuclear scientists, sending a chilling message that no one connected to Iran's nuclear program was beyond reach. Among the high-profile casualties were IRGC Commander Hossein Salami and Military Chief Mohammad Bagheri, figures central to Iran's military strategy and nuclear oversight. At least 6 leading nuclear scientists, including the renowned Faridun Abbasi, lost their lives. These were not just names, they were the minds driving Iran's nuclear advancements. This was a classic decapitation strike, destroying not only the physical infrastructure but also eliminating the expertise and leadership that made Iran's nuclear program possible. Israel's hope is that these coordinated attacks will set Iran's nuclear and military programs back by years, if not decades, forcing them to rebuild from scratch. It's a brutal, long-term strategy, one that aims to change the balance of power in the region and send a clear warning to any adversaries. The message is unmistakable. Iran's ambitions have been dealt a devastating blow, and the world is watching to see what comes next. The scale of destruction is staggering. Military compounds and nuclear facilities lie in ruins, their twisted remains a stark reminder of the night's chaos. The attacks left gaping holes in fortified structures, and the once bustling sites are now eerily silent, shrouded in dust and debris. Iranian officials standing before the devastation tried to downplay the true extent of the damage, insisting that critical infrastructure was largely untouched. Yet the images told a different story, one of significant loss and vulnerability. International inspectors from the IAEA arrived quickly, donning protective suits to assess the aftermath. After thorough checks, they confirmed that despite the destruction, there were no radioactive leaks or contamination, easing fears of a wider disaster. In retaliation, Iran launched a massive swarm of over 100 drones, filling the night sky and setting off air raid sirens across Israel. Civilians scrambled for safety, clutching their phones as alerts blared, and families rushed to shelters in a wave of panic and confusion. Israel's Iron Dome sprang into action, intercepting the majority of incoming drones with remarkable precision. The night was lit up by streaks of defensive missiles, each one a lifeline for those on the ground. Regional allies, including Jordan and Iraq, played a crucial role, coordinating air defenses and sharing intelligence to help neutralize the threat. Their cooperation was vital in preventing even greater destruction. In Iran, the strikes left at least 95 people injured, most of them civilians caught in the crossfire. Emergency workers raced through the rubble, tending to the wounded and searching for survivors amid the chaos. Meanwhile, in Israel, families huddled in bomb shelters, their faces etched with anxiety. Even though physical damage was limited, the psychological impact ran deep, leaving many shaken and fearful of what might come next. Tonight, both nations find themselves on edge, their citizens glued to the news, bracing for whatever the future may hold in this escalating conflict. The world's reaction? Deeply divided. The US defended Israel's right to act but distanced itself from direct involvement. Russia, China, and many Arab states condemned the strikes as reckless and destabilizing. Europe called for restraint but offered little more than diplomatic concern. NATO and the UN urged calm, but their influence is limited. The world is split. Some see a necessary defense, others a dangerous provocation. There's little common ground for de-escalation. So what now? The situation is volatile and unpredictable. Israel hints this may not be the end. More strikes could follow. Iran's next move is uncertain. Another attack, proxy warfare, or strategic patience. Hopes for renewed nuclear talks are dead, and regional tensions are soaring. The risk of a wider war is real. One misstep could ignite a much larger conflict. Operation Rising Lion has changed the Middle East's strategic landscape. The coming days are critical. The world watches, anxious and uncertain. As always, it's ordinary